This story was so annoying to read right before bed. It's like I should tell myself, don't search for it until you get up. I was trying to explain something in the comments, and YouTube's censorship is outrageous. That kids should be educated on all these topics and have discussions about the conduct of these boys, right? And this was not handled well in this case, okay? So we're gonna go through it and we're gonna point out all the wrong things, and it's also gonna show you that he had a problem prior to this event. That's why I keep going. It needs to go back further. So the conduct of them further than that, because at the time that he did what he did here in the story is at the point in time where it's kind of too late. So there was conduct prior. So I can tell you that without a doubt. And that's what I'm just losing it over, because he was enabled here even after the fact. And I was like, oh, well, there was no way to actually fix this guy. I mean, none, because of the conduct of everybody in it. Okay. It was stressful. It was stressful. I was like, don't read this stuff at night. I tell myself it, and I do. And then it's just like, what? This thing. Yeah. Sam Haskell charged with killing wife and both of her missing parents. I view this on a spectrum, so it wouldn't be where it's like this thing across the board where they would all do this. No. And I was talking about the autism thing. I was trying to make that really clear, because the public has a problem when you say, oh, the person's a sociopath. I mean, some person with Asperger's, right, is a sociopath, so we're going to start targeting all these kids with autism, right? Like that thing. The problem is we are seeing quite a few of them that then have this in addition. So what I'm trying to point out is them being autistic isn't the thing about it. The only thing that I could see it coming to play is learning things and how they're acting along with it. But the majority of these socios that I've ran across, that we talked about, actually don't have autism that we know of. Like they actually don't act. I mean, I would say they act creepy, but they don't have that necessarily that off kilter thing. But it depends on how you want to look at it, because maybe some of the people we've talked about, maybe they have that also in the addition as to why they're so like socially awkward, but I don't think that is in the majority of these people, because that's the majority of a lot of the public, because a lot of the public enabled this, and the dad here is showing signs of being a major problem. The dad? Yeah, the dad. I'm focusing on dad here, and mom's just an enabler. And all the women in here are enablers. But you're going to see why the other girl's an enabler here that's talking about him. I was like, there's no way, dude. Go get therapy. I was like, no, what the hell? This story was so crazy last night. And it happens to be on Fox, because Fox is just like, give me the attention. We're going to get right on it. Okay. So Sam, the Hollywood heir accused of killing his wife and his parents before disposing of garbage bags full of human remains, was behaving erratically and paranoid at a LA diner with his kids weeks before police found a headless torso and dumpster that they believe belongs to his missing wife. Okay, so according to a childhood friend. So here's a childhood friend, okay? But also, this is interesting. He was out at a diner with his kids, which is like the first time I heard about it with anybody else. But it didn't sound like the wife was with them, right? Typically, when we run into each other, it's a hug. I can't imagine I got given a hug, but okay, so typically when they run into each other, it's a hug. His friend told Fox News Digital, this time he was backing away from me and he doesn't want a hug, and he's backing up like I'm a threat or something like that. The woman asked to remain anonymous out of safety concerns and out of respect. I don't know what these safety concerns are, because he's in jail. I mean, unless they think he's going to get out. Like maybe they think that he's going to get bailed out. I don't know. But for this minute, he's locked up, to my knowledge. And out of respect for Haskell's parents, And I don't understand this protection of the parents is so annoying to me. But you'll find out whom she described as wonderful people who were always good to her. Okay, they were good to you, but you're not his kid. Something is not right here, okay? And you should not be defending parents in these cases for the most part. And it was really crazy, some of the stuff she says here. So I was like already annoyed by that. I was like, Haskell, because he's getting sued, right? For being a bad person. It's very related to this. Haskell waved her away with his hand and says, as if he were protecting his children from her getting close. He seemed very paranoid, and then he sat in the far back of the restaurant away from everybody. So that's just weird, even for Sam. Are you sure? Because even the neighbor said that he sits in the corner and that's how he was. So it sounds pretty typical of him to want to do that. At least sit in the back of a restaurant, yeah. But I don't know why he's waving you off, but the way Haskell acts in a series of TikTok videos is exactly the way he acts in real life. Yeah. A narcissist, a sociopath, right? That thing. I said it wasn't fake. I said that was him. And she added, describing him as attractive. Yeah, that was kind of weird. So I was like, oh, are you like into him and he has a wife? Like, is there, I don't know. It was just kind of weird. I guess it's just a matter of personal opinion, but that was kind of weird. Intelligent. Yeah, I would not, would you guys consider him intelligent, hiring some day workers to dump body parts? Yeah, no. And extremely socially awkward. Okay, you got that one right. Right? And now you think he's like this great guy to her, right? Like going on like this. I just want to make it clear. She's going on like this, but watch what happens. This is absolutely insane. If you just look at any of his TikTok videos, or if you heard him at all open his mouth and say hi, you can tell he's weird. She said, but that's fine because, well, it didn't end up being fine. But at the time prior to this, being weird didn't mean you couldn't be nice and kind. Okay, you have a valid point till what he did, okay? So, okay, there's some people who are a little strange to you, and they might be autistic, right? But I've never found them to be threatening or doing threatening things or those type of things, right? So yeah, this is a strange excuse considering what happened here, okay? So this is what happened. She said they were neighbors for around 10 years after meeting at 13. So they met at 13, so they were neighbors for like 23 years, I guess. And later, as adults, bought houses on the same street again. So does she live on the same street with them now? Is that what's going? This is weird. I don't know. But at first you kind of think, oh, they're just really good pals. Again, I'm like, this is okay. So they knew each other at 13. What you see is how he is, she said, on his online presence. Well, that should have scared everybody, right? It's not an actor putting on a persona. Did I not say that? I totally said that. I go, that's him. That's totally him. I don't even know him. But I knew somebody that was similar in the narcissist portion there. Socioport. Okay, so however, a few years into their friendship, Haskell became awkward. No, I thought he was always awkward. So anyway, so 13, few years, 14, 15, yeah, maybe 15. See, that's the age. I'm just saying, that's the age when that stuff is too late. Because the stuff that happened to him, or this monster that's being created, is earlier, right? Before they met. And that's the stuff we need to know. Because this is always the after the fact. This is when it's all coming out and he's already a monster and he's doing things, right? This is what we've been learning. That's why I'm like, okay, we need to go back further before you. But at this point, he's already a full-blown ASPD, you know what? Because watch what he does. He began calling too much. And that alone probably wouldn't be too bad if it's just somebody with autism. They really, maybe just being overly, that thing. But it's all, and showing up at her house uninvited when she and her brother asked him to stop. So now they said to stop. So it's not a thing that's like he keeps coming over and we're just like, we're putting up with it. They go, can you please stop? So now they're saying stop. So guess what's going to happen if he's in a relationship and they say stop, he's going to ignore it, right? So you already know his personality trait is going to be a rapist, right? Right? That's how you can figure these guys. And it said he already pulled out a massive machete on them. And I was reading that and I'm like, huh? Yeah, after this whole like praising, he's intelligent, he's good looking, he's this and that, and yeah, and I tried to give him a hug, and I'm like, huh? So he pulled out a massive machete on them. Is it crazy? My brother came out to be a brother, and my brother was way older. Okay, there's a problem here too. Like, why does your brother need to come out to defend you, right? To get against guys, right? Just generally this whole garbage of this thing right here. So it's just like, oh, don't respect women, but if my man brother comes out, then that should scare him away versus you saying don't come around and go away, right? He should respect that, right? Okay. She said Sam went into the trunk of his car and pulled out a machete and not just a pocket knife, a knife. Oh my gosh. He was going to take out him too. This right here was like, for me, it's a gold mine, but in general, this is actually really scary. And this was like a major, major flag. And this is when your son should have been, number one, arrested, two, put into some type of program to fix whatever this problem is because he's a stalker. Well, he's stalking because basically, I guess that's what's going on. He's stalking. And he's shown up to her house. He wants to be with her. And then when he got told no, he pulled out a machete. So this is how he reacted as a teen. And this is already when it's too late. So it's not going to tell us the earlier portions. I just want to make that clear. But what makes this worse is how they responded to this. Although police were involved, her family declined to press charges on the condition that Haskell cut off all contact and leave her alone. This has no F's for anybody in the story at all, or any other women or his actions at all. Just don't contact us. So you can go take your knife out on another girl, right? Do you see that? This is the pass off to it. And it's basically like a get out of free card. I mean, basically. And they're instilling in their daughter that men can do this. And you just need to put up with it. And we just told him to leave you alone, girl. Yeah, so that kind of thing. So she's going to start minimizing, right? You're going to see it. But that was actually taught by her parents. This was actually good because I was like, now we get to see the double dynamic here of the guy's parents, of the perpetrator, and the mom and the other family that's like literally basically instilling in girls that, oh, you know, just as long as we tell them not to do it again. And not that it's saying I have a major problem that we need to attack like right now, regardless of him not coming again. It's that he's acting out in that way, okay? Do you guys see it? Okay. An LAPD spokesperson could not comment on the friend's version of events and deferred to the Public Records Office, but noted the documents could be exempt from disclosure. Haskell would have been a juvenile at the time of the incident and no charges were filed, right? So I said there was an issue of like these child case things, even in mine, you know, disclosing some of these things. I do believe that those are the most important things of a human life is their childhood. And I've seen a lot of people be like, we need to remove all that stuff. It's kind of like if I did some really effed up stuff as a kid, it wouldn't even... The only time it would be of an importance is if I actually relived it. Like this thing right here where like he pulled out a knife and then all of a sudden later he pulled out and probably did and did this whole thing. That's when it's totally relevant, right? Because he's a danger to other women. And that is when it shows up actually as a kid. If they understand that concept, then they would see how important that is back then. You know, it wouldn't be so much of just stealing some gum, right? Like, those crimes and things like that, it would you, I mean, if they went on to go robbing banks and things like that, I mean, yeah, I mean, you probably assume that they did that, but I don't know if that would be an important public disclosure because it's not like they went and raped some girls or did some violent physical harm to some girls. And I have another case that's actually like that where the guy harmed me and then later allegedly killed somebody. Something like that, right? Where I'm like, he's a danger. He did not get treatment. So then therefore he's just going to turn into a bigger monster, right? And it's like they don't care about the safety of the public. They don't care about women generally because that's who his target was in. And I'm sure there's some guys that have done things where they were physically violent to some other guys and maybe they killed some of them when they were kids or there's stories like that. So I don't know. Like those things I think are important for the public because it's a kind of a thing to watch out for. But that's up for debate. I am not for this like non-disclosure things of kids that pulled out knives on people. But again, the parents didn't file charges. And so it just enabled this, right? Because it means that nobody got in trouble. Like nobody got the proper treatment. And that was, and I don't know how much of a treatment you could have done here at that time because again, it's a little late. It's a little late. That's why I said the sooner you get this, the least likely this would probably happen. We saw the 6-year-old case, right? You don't want to see that. Thankfully, that's not as common as this right here. But the sooner you get that, the sooner this is not going to happen. But if you're enabling it even at the 14, 15, which seems to be the ages that they have been, because that's when they start really showing their true colors, right, of their problems, is like right there. So it just means that it was already beforehand. If I, haven't been so repetitive on saying that. But my parents worked it out with his parents. See, there you go. I almost like lost it last night reading this. I'm like, wow, yeah, they're the enabler parents. Yeah, that's interesting. Then she goes like this, and he wasn't allowed to call me anymore after that. Yeah, but that didn't help him though. It doesn't matter. He should have listened to your no, first of all, but he also pulled out a knife. So it means that he has a deeper problem than just, saying don't do it anymore, right? And it says he got a little weird. Looking back now, he obviously liked knives or sharp things. Does she, you know what I mean? The way she's talking her is so weird that I'm like, yeah, he pulled out a knife on you and was stalking you and was gonna stab you guys. It's beyond a little weird. It's violent. It's a socio. It's somebody that could turn into a serial killer. Do you guys see that? It's so weird. Her reaction to this is so downplay. It's bizarre. But I don't see who she is, and we're not talking face to face. So I'm just reading somebody's dialogue, what they're saying. And it sounds a little strange. Like, I don't know if it's like naive or, and it would be her parents' fault. But their parents talked to each other, and it was probably something like, hey, just we'll work it out. Try not to call the cops on my son and everything. I'll make a big old thing about it. You could see what the heck is going on here. And her parents are ridiculous that she didn't protect their daughter. Basically, if you look at it like this, she didn't protect all women. And kind of just said, guys do this sometimes, girl. I don't know, but her response to this is really crazy to me. Like, it's not freaking you out talking about, it's just, I don't know, but it says Haskell respected the agreement until they finally reconciled. Yeah, as adults, would you want to refriend this guy? Okay, so this to me is just beyond, I don't know. Anybody that would try to stalk me and pull out a knife on me and my brother is going to be the last person I want to rekindle anything with, right? They downplayed it so much that I think that's why she felt to do this, right? It's crazy to me. I was just like, well, what is going on here? And after he was married with children of his own, the friend said. So he got married, and somehow she felt safe to rekindle this thing with I don't even understand this, you guys. It's not right. You weren't even worried about the woman? Like, my thought would have been like, oh my God, I hope he doesn't, like, harm her because he doesn't listen to the word no. He doesn't listen to the word no, you guys. This is really bad. People are, I've seen on social media saying, hopefully his parents don't get the kids. Yeah, no. They were not capable of raising a proper son. And can you answer me this? Can you answer me this? Can you answer me this? How come their minor son had a machete? Can somebody answer me this? We didn't have a machete growing up. My brother did have a Swiss blade army knife, and you know what I had? Toenail clippers with the flipper thing out of it. And can you believe that out of anybody that got in trouble with anything was me with the toenail clipper thing? Cause one day I was like, we were like acting out Grease. I've talked about this. We were acting out the movie Grease because I was like this huge fan, and I was taking the clipper thing, and there was a little, that flip thing that you clean under your nails with, and I go, whing, because my dad was doing it or something. So I was at school and I was flipping it out. Like, I was just having all this fun with it. It was like stupid as hell. And I was going, fling. And then somebody told us that I had some knife at school, and they came up to me and they said, yeah, we were told that you're flipping a knife around. I was like, I am not. And I showed them it, and they're like, and I was just like, this is ridiculous. But anyway, yeah, that was the whole thing as kids. Like, that's the worst. Like, I was like, I didn't stab anybody. I didn't threaten anybody. I was like having fun, like, just with this stupid thing. Yeah, so it was that thing. And I was like, but I didn't have any Swiss blade army knife. My brother did. He had tons of them, I think, and the guys were running around with all kinds of things. You know what I mean? And none of them were getting in trouble. I was like, I get in trouble with toenail clippers? Yes. It was crazy, you guys. And then the kids were stealing all my stuff. Now, if I was going to do anything, yeah, I was like, if I was going to do anything to anybody, it would be over those things. I never did. I was so nice. They're like, can we play with your Smurf collection? Oh my God, my prized Smurf collection. Don't get me started on checking that stuff. Anyway, saying hopefully his parents don't get the kids. Yeah, he should not. That is unfortunate because his parents are incredible. Okay, the dad's getting sued, and he was terrible to other women. His son came to be a family butcher. The word incredible shouldn't really be in there. And neither parent did anything to get his son treated properly. Now, they may come out and say, we did this and that. Well, obviously nothing happened here because, as you see, your parents did not get him arrested. He should have had a record there, and he should have actually been in some type of treatment program to at least give him like half a chance to like be in society without killing people. I don't know. It goes over her head. Like, she's like defending. This is the thing, because her parents defended the actions in a way where it was kind of like saying that guys shouldn't get totally in trouble for that thing or anything like that. But then she makes this other weird comment, and I'm like, I don't know what it means. Okay, so it says, obviously, this is not an obviously thing, lady. I was like, this is not an obviously. Obviously, if someone is sick like this, it's not their fault. Who, the parents? Because she says that about the parents. So I was like, or she's saying she's protecting the guy who slaughtered everybody, right? Obviously, if someone is sick like this, it's not their fault. Okay, now we just took all the blame off the perpetrator. Or we just took all the blame off the parents. Like, one of these two things here. But it says it's not like they didn't raise him. And that's why I was thinking, like, the parents she's talking about. Because if she's really saying it's not their fault for him, you're ridiculous. But you're also ridiculous saying it's not the parents' fault. Yes, it actually is, because we've been going through these cases, and they actually talk about the home life of them and how they turn into sociopaths. Yes, the home life. Definitely. And we were already picking up things from your parents' actions, the dad's actions, and his conduct right here and how it was really not taken care of, but you're going to claim something else. It's not like they didn't raise him right because you were there the whole time, right? They did. How do you know? You didn't meet him until you were 13, right? So that's what I'm saying. The portions that matter are prior to that age. Prior. I will tell you on my life that it was prior to that. And it's the lead ups where the parents keep letting them get away with doing this stuff. Like, don't you do this again, this thing right here, right? They were hard on him. Okay. Did they abuse him? What did you see? How do you know? See, this is the crazy thing. So he wasn't allowed to go around her again, right? So how does she know they were hard on him? Is it something that you knew prior to that event? And you saw the parents being overly strict? Was there something there? Because that's something that could help us, because in the PD itself, it talks about the overly strict parents, those things right there. I don't know if they beat him. Like, what are you saying? You know what I mean? She says that, and I'm like, I'm confused because I thought you didn't see him again after that thing. And what does this mean, being overly hard on him? Being hard on him does not correct the behavioral problems that he has, right? So the more mean you are to him, it actually will make it worse. And so it actually entailed him to get treatment, because they don't know how to handle that, right? Because they're creating them, right? So it's not a thing where it's like some specialist, like he's like, we know how to deal with ASPD, because you wouldn't have created that thing to begin with. But if it just so happened, no, like it's ignoring the entire problem that this kid had, right? So lashing out on him does not fix that issue. They didn't take what happened to me when he pulled out a knife lightly at all. But the lashing out doesn't fix the problem. People are just not getting this issue. Because if we look at some of those other bully kids, some of the girls, guys, any of those things, what did the parent, what did they go to? So we're looking at that, and it's important to look at that where they threw him into places, right, to try to correct them, but it wasn't proper. Those were like military type schools or something. It wasn't dealing with their mental problem, right, that they were going through, right, in a proper manner, in a healthy, nurturing environment, which he needed, because something's going on here, right? So you see something's going on here, and it entails a specialist. We'll put it that way. And that specialist needs to also deal with the family, because something in the family unit here is creating that monster. And as you see here, he just kind of layered on. So he may have abused him because he did that. And then it just makes him into a worse monster. I'm trying to explain that the best way that I can to kind of really see this dynamic, because you could see it here. Like, there's this thing here where it's just completely tossed out the window. Like, we're seeing this as an issue where we just tell them not to do it again. It's like, no, that's not what's going on here. Me personally, I don't think I would be able to create a monster like that. But if it happened, the first thing I would do is contact the specialized therapist in those behavioral issues and then have them go there. But, after reading all these things with these monster therapists, but they're not all that way, but, that specialize in that field there. And if there's no change in the home life parent dynamic, you could just forget it, because there's a dynamic going on that created that. It's not a thing where he just randomly, That's what I'm saying. It sounds like he re-abused him here. The way you're saying it, that's why I was losing my mind last night. I was like, what am I reading? This is insane. And then she's making all these like excuses for him. And I think that was it. Yeah. So being hard on somebody that's, let's say, has a personality disorder, this is not going to end well. And it didn't, right? It could be like they were saying, so that's why I was sitting on this, because they said the neighbor. Okay, so the other neighbor, I don't think this is the same neighbor. Because if it is, that would be insane. They said they moved here right before, right at COVID time, and they were hanging out and they were good friends and this and that and this and that. Please tell me they're different people. I was like, because she's like, I don't want my kids over there for the sake of the weapons. And I'm just thinking, oh God, if she heard this story, I don't think she'd want her kids even near that house. I think they're separate people. I was like, please tell me they are. But she also said the parents were really nice. I go, yeah, but no, as you see here, they treated him differently. You see, it could point to that they abused him. Like the more that he did something that they didn't want him to do because he might be autistic. Because they brought up Asperger's, right? So the thing I was saying, maybe when he was showing signs of, he's not capable, because I said when this one little girl wouldn't um, respond when mom was saying, please stop, can you stop and get over here? And it was like she was in her own world, right? She's like happy and she's going on, and it's like she didn't even hear her, right? And you could tell it's not on purpose. And the mom was all mad and she's abusive. I mean, the mom, those people were abusive. Like there was a later thing with this thing, but they're like, she just doesn't want to mind, dude, and all this stuff like that, right? So they start treating the kids with autism. So I've actually seen this, right? And I think she has autism, but if she doesn't, she had a different disability, but it would be the same, actions towards them. So they start abusing them, and it's like, you just don't mind. You're just lazy, and you need to listen to me. And when I tell you to do this, you need to do. So they start doing this thing, right? And so for somebody with autism, that's frustrating. And this is probably more prevalent in males acting out like this with their anger issues and stuff. But I'm sure we can pull out a couple, maybe both, right, that have acted in these weird ways. But it's that kind of dynamic. And so here they're just going on him. You know what I mean? And it's just, yeah, he may have those issues. She didn't mention that. But I think he does. I actually agree with the neighbor where she thinks that he has that. I was like, yeah, he may actually have that. It just seems like every other story, it's like the guy has it, right? But no, it's a definite other. It's like he had a genetic thing that I was going, I don't want to say because if it's not autism, then, I don't know what else it would be. But yeah, so I was kind of thinking on that line, and I was like, yeah, so then it means that he probably had a hard time following along with things, and he may have been getting in trouble for that like the whole time. That would be a portion. But again, tell me how he had a machete as a minor, and where did he get that? I mean, what's that about? And did the dad give it to him? Because his own kids were running around bragging about weapons, and the last thing you needed to have happen is his kids running around with knives, right? They were 12, so they were getting close to, how old was he here, right? He was like 15 or something. His sons were on a road to a very bad ending because of the dad, not because of the mom. But the mom may have been kind of more passive in the relationship just because he may have been quite the abuser there. But it could also be the thing that kind of makes them not as crazy as dad. It's just it's a crapshoot. Like, you don't know how that's going to come out, but they were already running around bragging about it. So I was like, oh, wait till they got to junior high and high school. And then they had access to dad's guns and knives. Are you kidding? People, they just weren't. I know the neighbor wasn't even real. I don't know. They just weren't thinking of it. Maybe they just didn't even think like those kids would do anything like that. But as they were bragging, they shouldn't be bragging. I was scared to death that my dad had guns, but the guns were put away. So the guns were put in out of sight. Like he had it, I think, in his car, like when he went to go do, his damn bullshit. And then one of the other guns, it was originally put away in their closet. And then the minute I found it, I think they got a safe and put it in. So I was never had any access to it. And it was never brought out to be shown. Like, this is the cool thing to have. We should all go shoot guns and all this crap. There was none of this going on, you guys. there were some knife jokes like from my brother and other stuff, but we should probably be scared of that. There was this rusty knife that we used to have, and it was just a joke, and he pulled it out, and he like pulled it up like he was pretending like he was gonna come and stab me. And so I took a photo of him acting all crazy. But no, but outside that, there was no like weapon violence in the home. It was just things of them throwing objects and other things, but there was no way. No way. That's crazy. That's the parent being reckless. That is his behavior, and the kids really shouldn't be around any of that. They shouldn't really see it. They shouldn't be playing with it. Crossbows. I literally just mentioned crossbows somewhere. I was like, oh yeah, these guys, that was weird because it was before this killing, I think. I said, yeah, they take axes and, those crossbows like do a lot of damage. And then they mentioned that this guy had crossbows, and I was like, oh Lord. I was like, I don't know anybody with a crossbow. It was so random. I was just like going through this long list of these people having all these crazy weapons. I was like, even if they took away the gun, I go, these guys are going to pull crossbows and axes and, like that other perpetrator. And I was like, sure enough, this guy had every single one of those crazy things. Like everything that you could think of that if you took away a gun, he had it. And then he also had a gun. So I was like, oh, that's nice. Exactly. That's just what they're going to do, right? Okay, so that's all I gotta say on this one. I'm annoyed by this weird friend. I'm like, the friend is a little weird. I'm just trying to wrap my mind around it. So some guy pulls out a knife on me and my brother, and they're stalking me, and I'm later going to rekindle a friendship with them. No. No. It wasn't handled properly. We're putting it that way, and you're seeing the enabling, and even if he actually could have just made it worse here. The dad and them, yeah. Yep, you guys. The strict family home. That's why I said when they started breaking down his weird, like, book that he wrote, and I was like, what does that mean? It sounds weird. And these like high standard things and this and that and this and that and those are some things in it. So I was like, is it telling us that he's kind of military like and parenting? Is it telling us that thing? Because that's what we're looking for. We're looking for those different parenting things that they were talking about. But I don't know how she knows that they were hard on him. That's just another thing. She like threw that out there. I'm like, were you there? Like, what did you see? Like, can you define like how you know that? And how did you see the parents go off? You just heard the parents say, oh no, we totally grilled him to you know what. And then now he probably hates his dad. You know what I mean? Like it turns into this other thing. It just wasn't handled properly. I'm going to repeat it. It was not handled properly. It's kind of odd though, I will say. So he's like 15 here, and then so 25 years goes by. And actually what happened here was, I believe this was the initial incident. I mean, there may be more incidents prior, you guys. It could be all kid cases and nobody's talking about them. Then there was another case, because they said it happened 10 years prior, which he's 35 now, I believe. So I guess somewhere around 25 or that early, something like that. I think there is a case that is on record where he did a deadly weapon thing. Assault with a deadly weapon, which I think is a separate case because it was falling in line with around the college years. So that would be incident number 2 that we have knowledge of. So it's like a continuation of his actions. So from, say, 20 to 35, there should be some additional actions. Now, in these middle portions here, maybe some lead ups to him, I don't know, maybe he's getting into fights with other people, like other guys, because we see he's kind of pumping up with some guys here. So he's not really against harming any guys. I mean, he did take out the parents, but The parents were actually fairly small people. They were not large people at all. They were like 5'4" and 6", 5'4" and yeah, 5'6", and they were roughly like 135, 140, something like that. They're small, tiny people, so that's not a fair thing here. And then it obviously took out the woman. So I'm just thinking of the conduct. Like there would be conduct in between this because you see the trailing 1, 2 here, and then in the middle of this, there's something. But it could be a thing where people didn't report it, so we might hear stories of, oh yeah, he went to the gym and then he pushed me. You know, you might hear some stories like that. Like it would be not proper. It wouldn't really fit if it's like, oh, he's being massively violent in this early portion, and then like for 15 years he was a good boy. That just wouldn't happen. So there's gonna be something in here, like these sort of lead up things, and then and it could be when she ran into him, he was premeditating the situation. Could be something of that nature. And but it wasn't really thought out. Like I said, it wasn't like you could kind of see it's not thought out at all, the second half of this thing. But he might have actually been entertaining it, kind of like, okay, you know when someone's like depressed and they're thinking of, you know what, like if you look at the weeks prior to it or a week prior to it or something like that, they start going in this thing. So it may have been that she came up on him during this mindset like that, and then she doesn't want anything to do with her, like she needs to get out of there. I don't know why he would be paranoid. Like he doesn't want her to get involved in his what he's gonna do. That might be because she's the one going up to him. It's not the other way around. Um, just strange, you guys. Just strange. This one just kind of like mind blown me because I'm like, how did we get here? I was like, how did we get here in this like weird cuddling fest that we got going on with someone who is a victim of him?